Governor-General urged citizens to appreciate the sacrifices of soldiers. Police investigate the death of a 13-year-old boy at Morata. And Bulolo Forestry program revived to encourage tree planting.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you. Glad you could join us on this Remembrance Day news. A 13-year-old boy was found dead at the Morata swamps this morning. The boy was missing since Wednesday afternoon. Police have been to the scene of the incident and have started investigations into the possible drowning. EMTV's Sarah Alpong has more.
The young boy was part of this group of boys who were enjoying the stream but did not return home in the afternoon. His body was found here by 4 of his friends and his parents at 6 o'clock this morning. The death was reported to the Waigani police station. Members of the CID, with the assistance of the Australian Federal Police, arrived at the scene around 9 a.m. this morning. While this is being treated as a possible drowning, police will continue with the investigations to confirm the cause of death. The body of the victim has been brought to the Port Moresby General Hospital morgue. When EMTV arrived at the scene, relatives and the group of boys that the victim spent yesterday with were there to recount how his body was found. While investigations into the death continue, the victim's uncle said the government needs to look into the water needs of this community.
Emol Pikinini West, Taplo Boreboa Primary School. Aste Olinaplo Staplo classroom. Oli sabe olsem, got wara lo was na wasim clothes so time oli go lo school na all by rausim all come down so oli kisim uniform na all kata all dress blo oli kam was na all karim des heavy na oli come up place clear na oli come up lo front lo you plug up man. One am you like walking now. On behalf of Morata community, we want the water supply now.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The people of Pomio District in West New Britain have been assured that dramatic changes to weather patterns experienced in the area are not related to seabed mining activities as feared by locals. The Minister for Environment and Conservation, John Fundari, made this assurance in his response to questions raised on the floor of Parliament by the newly elected member for Pomio, Elias Kapovare.
To the Minister for Environment Conservation.
The member for Pomio said the people have become wary of seabed mining activities conducted by Nautilus Minerals Limited in the island of New Britain after experiencing a recent increase of earthquakes and aftershocks and continuous rough seas, especially along the coast of Pomio District. This is causing anxiety and fear amongst locals who rely heavily on travelling by sea to Kokopo to conduct business.
Can the Minister, Associative Parliament and the people of Eastern Britain, especially my people, that the earthquakes and changes to weather patterns as observed are not associated with the current activities in the seafloor by Nautilus Minerals, as it is proximity to the South Bismarck tectonic plate.
The concerned member was then assured by the Minister for Environment and Conservation that changes to the weather are unrelated to mining activities carried out on the seafloor, and environmental permits and mining leases are issued only after conducting proper environmental studies.
And in this case, the deep-sea mining activities by Nautilus Minerals would have, Mr. Speaker, proper geotechnical studies been done or conducted by the Department of Mineral Policy and the Geoassets Department. And I would also want to think that proper audits and studies of environmental impact studies before environmental permits and mining leases were issued.
However, Mr. Pundari said he will take up these concerns for further consideration with the Mining Minister, the Department of Mineral Policy and Geoassets, and the newly established Oceans Office. Vanessa Knight, National EMTV News.
The Bulolo University College will be introducing a new diploma in forestry program to revive active tree planting in Papua New Guinea. Reforestation was popular in the 70s and the 80s, but subsided when government attention shifted to large-scale logging. The program is geared towards people in rural areas who own large areas of land that can be turned into tree plantations.
In the 60s, 70s and 80s, the Bulolo University College, previously known as the Bulolo Forestry College, used to be the primary training institution for Papua New Guinea's forestry officers. In the 1990s, when government focus shifted, the training of foresters fell from the priority list. Activities like reforestation didn't feature anymore in district priorities. But now the University College is introducing a new diploma in forestry that has a rural focus.
To be hands-on the skills of forestry and to work with the landowners of this country who are the landowners of all the resources that we're talking about.
Next year, the college will be taking in up to 40 students. The aim of the program is to bring back what was lost over 2 decades.
This new program now will actually, it will move towards a catalyst of change for people to really focus in planting trees and taking ownership of those trees. Because reforestation itself has not been geared towards the rural people, the people down at the LLG level.
Many of the pine forests in the Bulolo area and the hinterlands of the Morobe province and the Eastern Highlands were planted by forestry teams in the 70s and 80s. That activity stopped when the government stopped funding the programs. The training that will start next year is expected to start a revival. Scott Wide, National EMTV News, Lae.
You're watching National EMTV News on this National Remembrance Day. We'll be back with more news coming up after these messages. Stay with us. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. The 20,000 Manam Islanders who have been displaced for over 11 years are appealing to the national government to pass the Manam Restoration Authority Bill tomorrow. This bill, once passed, will make the way for the permanent resettlement agenda to progress. Madang Governor Jim Cuss is expected to table this bill in this parliament sitting. They also called on local MP John Hickey to stop politicizing the bills.
The internally displaced people from Manam Island have been voicing their concerns since 2004 when the volcanic eruption on the island forced them to reside in care centers on mainland Bogia. They have been on care centers for 11 years now. Late last year, the proposal to resettle them in Andarum, inland of Bogia, has been introduced in Parliament. In 2013, Deputy Prime Minister Leo Dion visited the displaced islanders in Madang. He promised them government support to the Manam Restoration Authority Bill in Parliament. However, Parliament is yet to pass the bill. This week, a group representing the Manam Islanders and their host communities attended the Parliament sitting, hoping to see the bill passed, but this was not the case. Now they are appealing to the government to make this a priority in tomorrow's sitting.
People are expecting that the Manam Restoration Bill, resettlement bill by pass law Parliament, so that we can go back one time good planting thing na asurim all people blomipla.
They called on all Madang MPs and the Prime Minister to push the bill forward.
Our stay in the care centers as internally displaced people must be only 6 months.
We're hoping and appealing to the government of the day, owning government, that the passage be the bill be passed.
The mipla like by this play be Mr. Mo national government now responsibilities belongan no pasim sila. So me asking MP from Bogia knocking that hearing.
They hope to return to Madang tomorrow with good news for the people. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Gulf Governor Havila Kavo has returned to Parliament. Mr. Kavo was physically present in the chamber yesterday after his long absence due to court matters relating to his status as provincial governor. EMTV's Fabian Hakalitz reports.
His return to the chamber brought with him a series of questions relating to Gulf LNG project development that transpired in recent times, demanding Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to clarify certain announcements made.
Why change the name Gulf LNG into Papua LNG? 2, the announcement made by yourself and the Prime Minister to support the Total SA on the announcement they made for pipeline to be run from Gulf to Port Moresby, whether that decision was an NEC decision or was the decision or announcement was just only a proposition.
Cavo asked if it was a National Executive Council decision. A policy no pipeline by the Provincial Assembly last year was to ensure all resources exploited and found be processed and exported directly from Gulf. However, Minister Duban responded, announcing the decision to change the name to Papua LNG was not a major issue.
It's a name that is unique, and it depicts the Papuan Basin, which is the overall area where the elk and antelope sits. And if we look at the analysis that was used to select the name, there are a couple of Gulf in the world that you can easily get misled. Where Gulf is commonly referred into Saudi Arabian.
The minister explained the new operator had made a commercial decision based on factors of project economics. Based on research and analysis, Gulf has shallow waters that requires long jetties and other major risks like the relocation of communities. Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News.
Milne Bay Governor Titus Philemon has called on the police department to purchase new boats for maritime provinces. His request follows reports of piracy in Milne Bay, which has raised serious concerns for people's safety in the province. Philemon says though his administration assists in providing communication equipment and transportation, he wants the police department to look into getting boats for Milne Bay.
Governor Philemon raised his concern at the Parliament sitting during questions without notice yesterday. He was responding to reports of piracy activities in Milne Bay. Philemon said the lack of boats for police officers in maritime provinces is creating an opportunity for robberies to occur out at sea. He said the police boat that was used by Milne Bay Police is no longer operating and asked the police department to address the lack of police boats with urgency.
It's in regard to the police boat that was given to us straight after the 2012 national election.
In response, Minister Ati Yafa said the concern will be discussed with Police Commissioner Gary Baki, and the police department will look into addressing that concern not only in Milne Bay but also in other maritime provinces.
We may not be able to buy new ones, but to maintain all the boats that are based now in maritime provinces.
The issue on the lack of police boats and water police was briefly highlighted by Commissioner Baki during his first address as Commissioner in April. Baki admitted that there was a need to improve resources for water police and promised he will look into the issue.
Unfortunately, I think all those boats have gone unserviceable. We cannot use them.
Meanwhile, Governor Philemon said most of the boats once used by water police were no longer in service, thus leaving police handicapped when trying to address piracy activities within Milne Bay. Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The PNG Business Women in Business has recognized the outstanding exhibitors at the recent Women in Business Expo. The Business Expo was officially opened by Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and was staged for 2 weeks, running simultaneously with the 15th Pacific Games here in Port Moresby. Women from all over the country were part of this opportunity for exposure and networking.
Few of the participants of the Business Expo gathered today at the PNG Women's Microbank office for a media conference. Executive Director of the PNG Women in Business, Janet Sape, firstly described the expo as a success with many unique products put on display. She attributed the achievement to the women participants.
You all get a product view and unique. This is what we want to do. Showcase, promoting Narapla.
An award was given to one exhibitor for the most outstanding display during the expo. Patricia Failau, Director of Family Tree Funerals and Beauty Shop based in Wewak, was awarded after views from the public, organizers and other participants.
It does not mean that you will have a degree or master's to be a businesswoman. Anybody can become a businesswoman. I'm so proud of Janet. Thank you very much. She told me something, and that is, from nothing we can do something. I still remember. Thank you very much.
Another exhibitor, Ruth Arek, a rice farmer from Medang, was rewarded personally by Mrs. Sape in recognition of her perseverance in business.
Thank you.
In the meantime, on behalf of the businesswomen in PNG, Mrs. Sape congratulated Team PNG athletes for a successful Pacific Games. She announced that PNG Women in Business was offering to open free passbook accounts for the female medalists at the Women's Microbank to encourage them to save. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Vanimo Green MP Belden Nama has thanked past and current governments for the success of this year's Pacific Games. Mr. Nama was responding to a ministerial statement by Sports Minister Justin Chichenko on PNG's achievements. He says it was through combined efforts that delivered one of Pacific's most outstanding and memorable sporting events. He challenged the government to complete infrastructures that will help to prepare our athletes for future sporting events. Well, National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay tuned. Well, today is the country's 34th Remembrance Day, and Papua New Guineans must learn to appreciate the sacrifices of fallen heroes. That's the challenge from Governor-General Sir Michael Ogier, who officiated at this morning's parade. He said it's a day for all Papua New Guineans to remember and celebrate the memory of our fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives for the country during World War events. The Governor-General also challenged us, the people, to be inspired by the virtues of these fallen heroes who have united Papua New Guinea. MTV's Fabian Hakalitz with this Remembrance Day special report.
In Port Moresby, a ceremonial parade and memorial service was held at Remembrance Park, Ella Beach. Present was Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, parliamentarians, members of the Diplomatic Corps and city residents. A 1-minute silence was accorded to the fallen heroes and laying of wreaths. For loyalty, courage and devotion to duty, we shall remember them. Without memory, there is nothing, and without sacrifice, there's no honor. These were the words from Governor-General Grand Chief Sir Michael Ogier while honoring our fallen heroes. It's a day to remember and honor the sacrifice of those who fell in battle and those who stood in defense for our land and its people.
Let us recall the sacrifice of the first members of the Papua Infantry Battalion and their allies from Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. We also recall those of our people that were used as carriers and helpers by foreign forces that brought their war and its ravages to our land.
These fallen heroes must always be remembered and be thanked for their willing sacrifice as the tragedy and loss was brought by war. Sir Michael said peace built upon the heavy sacrifice was honored and citizens must continue to develop it as a vibrant country with a promising future.
Let us teach our children. Let us sing it in our songs. Let us work to keep their memory alive.
PNG has maintained its friendship with those countries that fought in our land. the spirit of forgiveness and friendship that united Papua New Guinea with those countries. Message of peace and forgiveness must be spoken in honor of those who did battle. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill also paid respects to the brave men and women, veterans and those who did not return. From Kokoda to the autonomous region of Bougainville, Milne Bay to the Sepik Coast, and many more places in between, remains of our brave men and women lay buried on those battlefields. The Prime Minister challenged disciplined services personnel to reflect on those we commemorate today and live up to the high standards they set. The Prime Minister said we must ensure to pass knowledge of our war history to our children so that future generations will continue to pay their respect. Teaching about Remembrance Day must continue in our schools. Remembrance Day ceremonies was also held in some areas around the country. In Madang, as always, the dawn service was at Coast Watchers Memorial Lighthouse.
Thank you, la sacrifice some of our family and Albanese and also so we believe that the remembrance and we black thinking of generation thinking is the freedom of staff now all time even the ground finish.
I sympathize with my uncle who was also in the PIR army when he died during the campaign on Kokoda Trail. In our family, we have not forgotten him.
We will forever honor their memories, lest we forget. Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News.
The Pacific Games should be seen as an announcement to the rest of the world that Papua New Guinea stands ready to foster friendship and goodwill with other countries. That's from Governor General Sir Michael Ogier at this morning's Remembrance Day parade. Once again, Fabian Hakalitz has more.
The Governor General was speaking at this morning's ceremonial parade and memorial service of the 34th Remembrance Day celebrations at the Remembrance Park in Port Moresby. He was making reference to the Pacific Games, the largest sporting event that united 24 island states.
Conclusion of the Pacific Games should be seen as our announcement to the region and the rest of the world that Papua New Guinea stands ready to foster friendship and goodwill with our neighbors.
The Pacific Games is a testament of peace and freedom that can be shared with other countries, a way to unite and share common ideas for the betterment.
Embrace change and move forward towards realizing our vision for a better Papua New Guinea now and to the future.
The Governor General said Papua New Guinea must continue to strengthen its relationship with other Pacific Island countries and the rest of the world. As a Christian nation, Papua New Guinea must be at the forefront to promote peace and goodwill. Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News.
Opposition leader Don Pollier has challenged members of parliament to use the public health system in the country. Pollier says he has placed his trust in Papua New Guinean doctors because they are among the best. Pollier's challenge comes after he visited the Port Moresby General Hospital yesterday when he fell ill and was diagnosed with malaria.
The opposition leader surprised the medical staff and patients at the Port Moresby General Hospital with his visit yesterday. Pollier was transported to Pomjan after lunch when he felt ill. He said his decision to visit a public hospital demonstrates his faith in medical professionals working in the public health sector. The Kandep MP said local health workers in the public sector have been involved in providing medical help for most Papua New Guineans across PNG. Thus, they can be trusted in providing the same treatment to members of parliament and other high-profile leaders. Pollier said as the opposition leader, he will continue to raise issues affecting the health system and the health professionals in the country. The Kandep MP is now recovering at his home in Port Moresby. Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, a Russian spacecraft was successfully launched early this morning, taking Japanese astronaut Kimiya Yui and 2 other crew members from Russia and the United States to the International Space Station. The Soyuz spacecraft launched from a space center in Kazakhstan.
Nearly 6 hours after blasting off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at 3 this morning, the spacecraft reached its destination at an altitude of 400 kilometers at 8:45. Soyuz commander Oleg Kononenko of Russia and flight engineers Kimiya Yui of Japan and Kjell Lindgren of the United States made the successful docking with the International Space Station. Yui, the 10th Japanese to travel into space and the 5th to stay at the ISS for a long-term mission, will be carrying out various experiments at Kibo, Japan's laboratory on the ISS during his 5-month stay. Calling him a star of Middle Ages, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe wished Yui great success in space by utilizing various experiences he has had. Abe also mentioned his background as a test pilot in Japan's Air Self-Defense Force. Among those who celebrated the successful launch in Japan were about 600 people who gathered for a public viewing of the event in Yui's hometown of Kawakami, Nagano Prefecture, and his former co-workers in the self-defense forces. On the ISS, the US and Russian astronauts have been working to collect basic data to eventually realize a manned flight to Mars. Yui is set to support their work.
True Guy Sports is coming up next, and we'll give you all the details coming up after this break. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. A spectacular achievement by Athletics PNG at the Pacific Games, winning 22 out of the 44 gold medals on offer, as well as 19 bronze and 16 silver. This achievement concludes over a decade of hard work and perseverance by the athletes, as shown on the tracks. EMTV's Shane Saroya has this report.
Stone drives, he's a real fighter. 1 medal then, 1 more medals on the track.
The Pacific Games have seen a phenomenal display of speed by some of the very best sprinters PNG have ever had, going up against the best in the region, and those who were present at the BSP Stadium got their chance to witness the fastest men in the Pacific crossing the finishing line time and time again in numerous heats and final events. For a long time, PNG's reigning sprint queen has been competing in international stage, where she ran against some of the fastest women on the planet. The 15 Pacific Games have brought her back home to represent her country in front of the full house stadium and millions in front of their television sets, eager to see her run. And the test of endurance by our long-distance runners, keeping the audience on their feet in the final laps of the race. It was these moments that will capture history and be embedded in the hearts and minds of all Papua New Guineans and to the whole of the Pacific. These faces maintain PNG's dominance on the tracks for decades. Now will they stand the test of time and once again steal the limelight in 4 years' time. However, it has dawned on the new breed of runners that will be the movers and shakers of the next generation of elite athletes. The likes of sprinters Tio Peniel, Kamaniel Matlaon, in hurdles, Wala Gime, Peniel Joshua, Wesley Logorava, Afure Ada, Donna Coniel, in the heptathlon, Adrian Munagi, Robson Yinambe, Helen Philemon, on the pole vault, Caro Iga, Peniel Richard, the long-distance runners Janet Albert, Miriam Goye, Ongan Awa, Mary Kua, on the bars, Relly Kaputhin, Naomi Kerari, Delilah Kami, and dazzling Miriam Penny in the sprints. The future of athletics in PNG sure looks bright with these youngsters on a roll. The facilities we now have will only boost the level of training and competition in the country, making PNG runners a force to be reckoned with. Shane Saroya National, EMTV Sports.
10 years of hard work has resulted in success on the track for Athletics PNG. Among our gold medalist veterans, Sapula Yao and Moen Bueno, including female sprinters Sharon Quarala and Toya Whistle. Athletics PNG is already looking to the future by ensuring that these athletes have more opportunities.
With the prospect of a home games in 2015, Athletics PNG began serious preparations immediately following the success in Noumea. Complementing the overseas training program was a domestic scholarship program which commenced in Goroka in 2003 and was expanded when it was moved to Leh in 2007. In all, the team delivered 22 gold, 19 silver and 16 bronze medals out of the 44 of each color on offer, and 19 members of the team all went home with a gold medal each. The sprints, hurdles and relay have always been PNG's strengths, and at these games, members of that particular team won 11 gold medals, 7 silver and 5 bronze, with Toya Wushu not only meeting the expectations of the people of Papua New Guinea, but putting on an awesome display of sprinting as well. Other athletes of note included Wesley Logorava, Penuel Joshua and Charles Livoa, all three posting significant improvement in their performances, with Logorava winning gold in the men's 4x100 meters. Nelson Stone continued his record of delivering at every major games, despite doubts earlier about his readiness, and Dibona Paraka won PNG's first throws medal since Yamo Launa in 1991, with Slather Kurum placing fourth in the men's javelin with a good personal best of 56 meters.
Just like he did 4 years ago, Nelson Stone.
Many challenges were faced by Athletics PNG in the lead up to the games, including the non-availability of an athletics track in Port Moresby. With only the Trows group and a couple of sprinters who had study commitments training in Port Moresby and who were able to take advantage of the high-performance training centre. The priority now is to establish a national schools athletics program and use the new facilities to implement and strengthen domestic programs to draw more athletes into the sport. These programs will provide a development pathway for athletes, coaches and technical officials, with the hope that they continue what has been built up since 2005 by seeking opportunities and incentives for our top athletes. Jeremy Mogi, National, EMTV Sports.
Well, True Kai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned for more sporting action.
True Kai Sports.
Good to have you back with True Kai Sports. A post-mortem of the Pacific Games has already begun, with participating countries evaluating the performances of their athletes. Fiji Chef de Mission Kathy Wong says the inclusion of Australia and New Zealand at the Games should not be an excuse for Pacific Island countries not winning medals.
While Papua New Guinea has been celebrating as the top medaling nation of the 15th Pacific Games, Fiji will be conducting an analysis of its performance. Having finished third at the 2011 Games in Noumea, the Fijians arrived here full of confidence.
The Pacific rivalry will be there, and Ben will bring his team over, and said we hope to really give a good show to the people of the Pacific. They've invested quite a bit into their young athletes, and we hope that, and we look forward to them shining on the tracks come game day.
Team Fiji returned home this time in 4th place, having finished behind New Caledonia and French Polynesia. Local media in Fiji reported that the Fiji Chef de Mission, Kathy Wong, said an analysis would be conducted to gauge the effect of the involvement of Australia and New Zealand in the Games. Wong said the inclusion of the two nations should not be an excuse for athletes not winning medals. She said the honours was on sporting organisations to strategize for better results in the next Pacific Games. Deli Waigeno, National, EMTV Sports.
Over to cricket, the Barramundis have a final chance of securing a spot in the ICC World T20 in India next year when they take on Afghanistan in Ireland. Afghanistan was defeated by Hong Kong on Tuesday night and is seeking redemption against the Barramundis to qualify for India next year. The last time Barramundis faced Afghanistan was in 2012 during the last World T20 qualifiers in Dubai, where they lost by 6 wickets. The winner from tomorrow's match will qualify alongside Ireland, Scotland, the Netherlands and Hong Kong. The Barramundis will face Afghanistan at 7:30 this evening, PNG time. Well, that's a take on True Guy Sports tonight. We'll be back with the weather details after these short messages. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports. True Guy Sports.
Looking at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in southern region, Port Moresby, possible evening showers, fine weather expected in Daru, Kerama and Alotau, while brief showers expected in Popondetta. In Momasia, Ley and Madang, mostly fine, Wewak and Vanimo, brief showers. In the New Guinea Islands, Kokopo, Kimbe and Loringa, brief showers as well, while Kaving and Buka to look forward to a shower or two. And in the islands region, all centres fine apart from morning fog. Looking at forecasts for small ships within the coastal waters of PNG, there is a strong wind warning current for coastal waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border, through Torres Straits and Daru to Kiwa Island, Kerama to Yule Island, Hood Point and all Milne Bay Islands. Looking at waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border, through Torres Straits, Daru to Kiwa Island, Kerama, Yule Island, through to Hood Point, Samar Island and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Cape Bogle to Finschhafen, including Bitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island and West New Britain, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters west of Long Island to Madang to Bogia, through to Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, including Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 meters to 1.3 meters. And finally, waters of Bougainville, New Ireland and East New Britain, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And lastly, ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 15 to 34 knots. Solomon and Bismarck Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. And lastly, Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with northeast to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Now, before we go, a quick recap of our top stories again tonight. Governor General urged citizens to appreciate the sacrifices of soldiers. Also, police investigate the death of a 13-year-old boy at Morata, and Bulolo Forestry program revived to encourage tree planting. Well, that's how we wrap up the bulletin on this Remembrance Day. From the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi. You have an enjoyable evening. Good night.